Hey team, so how do you break mental barriers when running? I think a lot of us definitely experience ups and downs, ebbs and flows in training, and at the end of the day, you have to really discipline yourself to get out the door. And it's either you're all in regards to your short term and long term goals, or you're just kind of lukewarm about it. Okay, if you want to break a 3 hour marathon, or you want to break a 50-minute 10K, or you want to qualify for the Boston Marathon, or earn an Olympic trials qualifying standard, you have to be tenacious about what you're doing. You cannot just, especially if this is you really enjoy what you're doing. Obviously, the athletes that come to this channel, that come to RunDreamAchieve.com, they are hungry athletes that are seeking excellence in their sport. Some of you are sprinters, some of you are middle distance runners, some of you are ultra runners, long distance runners. All of us as athletes have some form of short-term and long-term goal. So you can't let setbacks get the best of you, okay? You can't let the fact that it's snowing outside or it's raining outside stop you from getting that workout done, okay? If it's super hot out, find other alternatives to get your workout in, okay? That's why I highly recommend treadmill running, okay? For a lot of athletes, I feel like you're not doing as much work if you're training on a treadmill. I would much rather train smart, get on a treadmill if it's 110 degrees out, and I had a tempo run plan and I want to hit some decent splits. I would much rather jump on a treadmill and get a legitimate tempo run in rather than go out in the heat and fall apart after the first mile. Okay, so you have to be strategic in how you're setting up your training, and you have to get beyond those mental barriers that stop you. That definitely challenge all of us. I've had plenty of mental barriers over the years that I really had to overcome. Okay, there were times where I was trying to run times that earlier in my career that I simply wasn't prepared to run. When I was in college, I was thinking about running a 2:22 marathon because back then it was a Olympic trials B standard time, and yet I had not run a half marathon when I was in college in 1:11. So okay, I was planning what I was aiming on doing far in advance, but I simply wasn't prepared, and I needed to age, I needed to mature in the sport in order to get to a point where I could eventually run that 2:22 flat time. And I eventually did several years after graduating from college. Actually, I ran 1:13 for the half marathon in college in 1999, right before I graduated in 2000, and I ran 2:19:35 for the marathon 7 years later. Okay, so in 2007. So a lot of times we form these mental barriers, and in terms of breaking those mental barriers, you have to look at, okay, how tough is this goal that I'm going for? Okay, if your current personal best for, say, the 10K is an hour and you want to run 40 minutes, you got to drop 20 minutes off of a 6.2 mile race. Definitely doable, but think about how long that's going to take you. Okay, so sometimes in terms of how do you break mental barriers, one is definitely staying tenacious and really drill down on what you want. Write down your goals. Actually visualize yourself, doing what you want to do well in advance, well before it occurs. I mean, I utilize that mental rehearsal and mental preparation for several years throughout my entire career. But definitely look at how difficult that goal is, and be realistic in terms of the timing of when you are going to achieve that goal. Okay, if you're putting too much pressure on yourself too early and you're being too demanding on yourself, okay, it can add on additional stress that you simply do not need. Okay, the less stress, less muscular stress, mental stress that you're dealing with and carrying, the better the performance is going to be. If you look at the best middle to long distance runners, sprinters, they all look relaxed. They know they've done their homework and training. They've trained very hard anaerobically as well as aerobically, and they've went into their race properly tapered. So of course they're going to be in great shape, not only great physical shape, mental shape as well. Okay, so you break, at least in terms of what I did over the years, I was always a student of the sport. I always was studying, what do I need to do in order to perform at the type of level I was dreaming about. Okay, when I was in high school, I wanted to train and compete at the Olympics. Okay, I wanted to break a 4-minute mile. I was always highly driven in terms of what I was doing. I didn't quite get to that level, but I did achieve an Olympic trial standard, and I did compete at the elite level. But it took me several years to get to that point. Okay. So regardless of what it is, your goal might not be to qualify for the Olympic trials or to make an Olympic team, but maybe it's to drop 5 minutes off of your 5 mile time, or off your 10 mile time, or drop, 30 seconds off of your 5 mile time, or to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I mean, we all have our own goals and aspirations. And so you break those mental barriers by getting past the setbacks, getting past the bad days, getting past those times when you're not hitting the splits that you are aiming for in training, and you stay persistent regardless of the setbacks. Okay. You allow yourself time to unwind and give yourself some downtime. I definitely cannot stress this enough. You have to give yourself some time away from the sport. Okay. You cannot continue to stress the body hard anaerobically each week, anaerobically, and expect high returns on your investment. You have to allow yourself time to recover and stay motivated, so do not lose enthusiasm when you have a few bad races or a few bad workouts. Okay. Your best racing is probably decades from now. Okay. I see athletes that are, I continually get comments from athletes that are very, very young, 13, 14 years old. I had a young man, 13 years old, who said he was training for, he had already run a marathon already, and he was training for he was trying to hold 9-minute marathon pace. I was just blown away by that, because I didn't run my first marathon until I was 25, and here's a 13-year-old thinking, it's great. It fires me up to read that and hear that from such young athletes. But just know that definitely create short-term goals, but just know that your best running is probably several years from now, maybe for some of you, decades from now. Okay. So in terms of how do you break mental barriers, you make sure that you allot sufficient time for recovery in your workouts so that you can adapt to the hard training. You allow yourself time away from the sport so that you can recharge, rejuvenate yourself, and not just continue to push hard all the time. You don't compare yourself to other athletes. Okay. Use that comparison if you want to, for some athletes, it motivates them to know what other athletes have run. But at the end of the day, you have to find out, okay, what am I capable of? Okay. Joe or Jane may have ran this specific time, but that's an entirely different individual. Okay. It's about what can I do to run the very best time that I'm capable of. Okay. So try to minimize the amount of comparison between you and the other athletes that you're competing against. Okay, that'll just lessen. It's one less mental barrier that you have to deal with as you prepare for your races. Do the very best to surround yourself with positive people. Listen to positive information. Okay, steer clear of anything that's outside of that's going to cause you to be more stressed out. Okay, watching the news, listening to negative people that you work with. Just focus on surrounding yourself with people that are going to take you outside of your comfort zone, that are seeking excellence. Okay, they're not seeking average results; they're seeking superior results. And they're athletes, they're business type people, they're teachers, just people around you that are going to help hold you accountable to get past those tough days. Okay, if you have that strong support system, that can really go a long way when it comes to your preparation for your races. So I hope this video makes sense. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions in regards to your own mental barriers and what are some tactics that you've used to overcome that. I'd love to hear that. And as you know, when you leave a comment, somebody else within the Run Dream Achieve community may read that and that may help them as well. So definitely the interaction between, on these videos is definitely helpful, not only for me personally to read, but also making sure that you're also sharing with them as well. It would definitely help them out. So I hope this video is helpful for you all, and definitely check out all the resources below, my videos, or on RunDreamAchieve.com. Feel free to share and like this video. It definitely helps the channel grow for more athletes and non-athletes that are seeking to get into the sport to see these videos. So I definitely appreciate your support, and I will talk to you all in the next video.